All right, folks, if we get back into here. And this is where we get to learn how to be an effective, responsible medium. Hey, so turn your cell phones off if you've turned them on. Yay. Get back into your mindset.
Good little Vegemite.
She doesn't know what a Vegemite is.
You don't?
Vegemite is an Australian spread made from beef extract. Sorry, vegetable extract. Marmite is the beef extract one. And kids were very often referred to as good little Vegemites.
Oh, okay. That sounds good.
It's an acquired taste.
Yeah, we're going to
Down under you.
Yep.
It's an acquired taste.
I call a little kid a bedbug.
All right, so just take a moment to kind of get back into body, get back into here.
Yep.
Take a couple good deep breaths, feet flat on the floor.
Yeah.
Yes, Mum.
Okay. Take it away, sir.
Thank you.
It's all yours, Maestro.
Good afternoon, people. I hope you enjoyed your lunch. Please try to keep the digestive noises to a minimum. One.
I'm sorry. I had heard a few people comment that we'd love to hear you a little bit louder. Would you mind elevate your voice a bit?
Oh, I can make the effort, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Maybe too loud. Anybody else?
Is that a digestive noise or something?
That
was a down under.
Ask yourself which end it came from.
I think she got it. Oh, her eyes are watering.
One of the aspects of spiritual development that intrudes very strongly into mediumship is personal responsibility. In spiritual development, you and you alone are responsible for the end result. In mediumship, you are responsible for what you pass on. And you have a responsibility to yourself, to spirit, and more particularly to those to whom you are passing it, to pass on the truth and nothing but the truth, but not necessarily the whole truth. And the illustration that I usually use to emphasize that point is, if I was doing a reading for somebody and I saw them walking out of the room, crossing the road and being hit by a car and killed, I wouldn't pass it on in that form. What I would pass on would probably be something along the lines of, I see a possibility of an accident involving a motor vehicle and I advise caution. That way you have alerted the person to the possibility. What they do with it after that is entirely up to them. And in the process, you haven't scared them right out of their underwear. And that is a very important part of mediumship, not to cause people distress in any way, shape or form. And if you come across a medium who is causing people distress, turn and walk away. Even very quickly, but certainly away. The other warning sign that I would suggest regarding mediums is those who seem to have an elevated opinion of their own abilities. Or to put it another way, an inflated ego or a big head. I have been involved in mediumship since 1970. And if there's one thing I have learned, it is that the people with big heads are not the best mediums. And the lady friend I mentioned while we were talking in the previous session, who was running the circle where I experienced both healing and giving a message at the same time, commented to me recently that she had had a number of fairly big name and highly recommended mediums on the platform of her church in the recent months, and she had been disappointed with all of them. Pardon me. Which leaves you wondering about the attitude of those people, both to themselves and to what they're doing. It pays, I feel, to bear in mind at all times that you are the end conduit of a message conveyancing system that is filtered down through various levels of spirit, with you being the means of articulating it into the physical plane. Without spirit, you can do nothing. Which is why I always question the motives of a lot of those who do readings for money. Not by any means all, because some are capable of making that step between having to prove a point and simply being a channel. I personally have never been one of those who've done readings for money. I've never done healing for money. That is not to say that I judge those who do, but I am also aware that there are some who do who are perhaps not quite as genuine as they could be. Very often they feel a pressure, having taken money, to pass on a message. And if they're not getting it, they will make one up. I've seen numerous cases over my time in spiritualism and around mediums where people have started doing that, and spirit has managed to bring them undone, sometimes in very spectacular fashion. There was a gentleman down home travelling under the name of Tom Wards. He had a double-page column in a weekly magazine down there. People would write into him with problems and he'd give answers to them, etc., etc. He also used to do workshops, and a church that I used to attend many years ago used to like to have him back for their harvest service. I only attended 2 services that he gave there, or where he was the guest speaker, and both of them the hall was packed, 80 to 90 people. And he would start in one back corner and he'd give a brief message to everybody all across that row and then back until he'd done all 90 people in the congregation. Not once did he stop to ask if the person he was giving the message to understood it. And that is a supremely important part of mediumship. If you pass on a message to somebody and they don't understand it, what is the point of it? There is no point. It is the medium's job to make sure that the recipient of the message understands it, or at least has an idea of where to look to understand it, of what aspect of their lives it might be tied into. Having said that, I gave a very similar, very cryptic message to a gentleman down home 4 times in a matter of about 9 months. And it wasn't until he went home after the 4th time I'd given him this particular message, and somebody where he was living said something to him, that the penny dropped, what it was all about. He couldn't understand it, and it wasn't my job to understand it. But it was his job to ponder it and to figure it out. And finally the last little piece of the puzzle dropped into place when somebody reminded him of an event that had taken place not too far in the past. The first three messages were harbingers of what was coming. The last message was after the event had happened, but he hadn't assimilated what it was all about. Sometimes you will get that, and there is not a thing you can do about it. It is not up to you to understand it, it is up to the person you are passing the message on to. Having said that, any time the recipient of the message does not understand it, do what you can to help them. When you've run out of resources, you're not getting any more from Spirit, you have no idea what it's about, all you can do is say, well, that's all I can offer you, and let it go. Somewhere down the track, the penny will drop. Another gentleman I gave a message to about somebody who'd been long in Spirit. He was 60 odd at the time, and I mentioned to him that this gentleman in Spirit had passed prior to his 30th birthday, the recipient of the message. No, can't place that. Oh, he'd had an accident on a motorbike. No, can't place that. No, can't understand. Can't understand that bit. He got home and he was sitting in his lounge chair after dinner, and suddenly the thought popped into him. His best friend back when he was 28 had been riding a motorbike at perhaps a little faster clip than he should have, and a tree had jumped out in front of him. Mm-hmm. And it had taken him 4 hours from the time he got the message to the time the penny dropped. Again, that is something you can't do anything about. All you can do is pass on the message to the best of your ability without trying to interpret it for the other person. Only trying to give them enough information that they can interpret it. Doesn't matter if you interpret it or understand it. It is up to the recipient. Always bear that in mind. And if, after you have done your level best to get all the information that you can and pass it on, they still don't understand it, all you can do is let go of it. If money was involved and they are not happy, I would suggest giving them their money back. There may come a time down the track after the penny has dropped and they'll come back and give you the money. Then again, they may not. I think the French have a saying for it. C'est la vie. Now, as I said earlier, mediumship is mental telepathy. You need to be able to clear your mind to receive it. Many mediums use various tools, crystals or crystal balls or cards or tarot or runes or whatever, to pick up their messages or to help them pick up their messages. All of those tools, no matter how much the person believes in them, are still only crutches. I advocate learning to do overheads, which is tuning in directly to the person. It may not be your favoured form of giving a message, but there may also come a time when somebody desperately wants a message and you feel that there is a need that they get a message and you don't have your tools. If you can do an overhead, tune in directly to the person, you have the tools. And I'd be prepared to bet that most of you, once you get used to doing overheads, will leave your tools behind, because it is so much easier. There are several countries in the world where what they call flower readings are still practiced. And that is because the law in those countries prohibits psychic readings on the basis that they're evil. So the people who were doing the psychic readings that were evil came up with the solution. They would ask the person who wanted the reading to bring in a creation of God. And because it was a creation of God, it could not be evil. And what less evil is there on the face of the planet than a flower? The naysayers just could not argue with that.
And a what?
Naysayers, the people, the critics.
No, before, did you say flare?
Flower.
A flower. That's
I'm from Texas.
How do you say flower?
Flower, but it sounded like flare to me.
Oh.
Flare.
Are you insinuating that I should learn to speak American?
Not at all. Texas making it clear where I'm from.
Texas is another country.
Fortunately, that was the best thing I got out of there when I was 10, so I'm okay.
Do we even read the flower then, instead
Yeah.
of reading the person?
It's-
They give a
It's
message.
one form of psychometry.
Oh, I see.
It's not hugely different from reading a personal object. But a personal object, the critics could possibly say was evil, or the reading derived therefrom was evil. But what can be evil about such a beautiful creation of God as a flower? A flower.
Flare. Flares are enlightened.
Now, mediumship has many different purposes and many different forms. Those of you who were here last night saw one form, trance-mediumship. Trance-mediumship comes in many different forms. It can be light trance, it can be deep trance, it can be healing, and various grades, levels, whatever, of those different aspects. In a light trance, the person who is in trance is almost always aware of what is being said. In deep trance, they are very seldom, if ever, aware of what is being said, because they just plain ain't there. They have stepped out of their body and allowed some other spirit to step in and take over the body. Some people cannot get their heads around that. There was a lady here last night who felt that her father was not just with her, but in her body with her, doing the things that she was doing. And that bothered her because she couldn't figure out how two spirits could be in the one body. What she hadn't taken into account was that since a spirit has no material presence, it can be anywhere. It can go through solid walls, it can go through fresh air, it can go through your body. You may not even feel it. So two spirits have absolutely no problem whatsoever in occupying the same space, which is very often what happens in light trance.
Is there such a thing as more than two spirits sharing the same body?
Yeah?
You can get more than one? So what do you do? Kind of, is the person who's the actual, the medium, whose body they're using, control it in any way if there's several?
Very
Who's in
often,
charge?
Yeah, I know, yeah.
It's your body.
very often when there are more than two
Okay, so
spirits
the medium.
yeah. Very often when there are more than two spirits involved, the spirit resident in that body has no control. or very, very little. They have relinquished control.
Oh, that's right.
But it's also not all that common for more than the owner and another spirit to be in that body at the same time.
Generally, it's one at a time.
Mm.
Okay.
But Abraham is a group of spirits. Abraham.
Yeah. I think you'll find that what happened in those cases was that she stepped out, he stepped in.
It's a group.
Him being one spokesperson
Oh.
utilized all voices, all right? One person came through in representative of that group.
Of that group.
Yes.
Oh.
Now, is that the same that Abraham with Esther did?
Hicks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
Yep.
just one minute.
That's what I'm saying. She stepped out, he stepped in.
And then he's talking for the group.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
And-
Also, last night, the medium said, I spoke to her afterwards, she represents a group.
Yep.
It's a group that, it's just that one person, but she also mentioned we, and they, so it's like she was definitely speaking for a group. So I asked her afterwards, is that more than one person, that's communicating? And she goes, she represents a whole group. Yeah, that's why she mentions they.
And that can happen. But usually in such situations you will find that there is mainly one spirit doing the speaking, the controlling of the voice of the body, where the group is there present with their accumulated knowledge, wisdom, reception, etc.
Is the person who's in a deep trance channeling, or are they?
Always,
Oh,
yeah. And that is why they have deep trance. There is then little, if any, chance that the consciousness, awareness of the person who is resident in the body can influence what is being said. And they agree to step back and let that spirit take over the body. It doesn't mean that they have relinquished the body, because when your spirit leaves your body when you're astral travelling, which almost all of us do every night when we're asleep, there is what is known as a silver cord connecting your spirit, wherever it may roam, back to your body, wherever you've left it, in whatever state of order or disarray. But that silver cord is always there until you no longer wish to inhabit that physical body. Then it's severed and you go. The body carks it, dies.
Well, that's interesting because two things. Number one, are we the only one that can sever the silver cord? And I say that because I'm asking this because we had a little lunch of discussion at lunch. What happens if, let's say, I allow someone or an entity to use my body and they don't want to give it back?
They have no option.
Oh,
Possession.
okay.
Would that be possession? Can you be possessed?
A possession is not occupying the body. They are influencing the consciousness, the mind, the higher self. They can sometimes physically control that body, but usually they do it through the mind, by manipulating the mind. Poltergeists are a manifestation of controlling spirits, and they usually attach to young people, to teenagers and people in their early 20s who are not yet fully cognizant of the fundamentals of personal responsibility, and very often they have feelings of anger or low self-esteem. They're not in control of their own emotions. They're very reactive instead of proactive, which makes it easy for a mischievous spirit to take charge of it. And try as you might,
Are they aware of this at all?
sometimes.
They being who?
The teenagers?
The teenager.
I bet they do.
They call it schizophrenia.
Sometimes they are aware. Sometimes when they are aware, they actually enjoy the experience and have no wish whatsoever for it to stop, because it's making an impact on other people. It's getting them noticed. Other times, when they're aware of it, they wish it wasn't happening. Those ones you can help, if they ask for it. The ones who don't want it to stop, there's not much you can do about it unless you are experienced in rescue work, which I am not. And hopefully you will have a team of spirits on the other side who can help you, and they will take the mischievous one in spirit and re-educate it.
More often than not, that's not going to happen until that entity that's creating the manipulation causes harm to that individual, which makes them more aware that that's not within their control, because there's some kind of connection in their brain that makes them think they're making it happen so they can make it stop. And the reality is they're allowing it to take place, but they really have no control over it. And until something happens to them, they don't know how detrimental it can be. And then that creates a need for them to allow it to, or make it to stop.
Are you saying a physical something happen or an emotional? Or
Usually a
either?
physical something, but creates emotional.
They call it hit bottom, I think. You know, when you hit bottom, then you want to do something to help yourself.
Not
When
on,
you're- Yeah, not.
Because I heard that alcohol, people that lose consciousness with drinking or drugs, a lot of times they are possessed. There's a lot of entities around bars and things.
There
Yeah.
can be, yeah.
Because they're out of control. They can.
Yeah, and so that leads it to the conscious thought is, if you're in a sound mind, in a good space, you're not going to be possessed.
No.
There's no way, because like Dee says, you're in control of that situation. You can make it stop. You can say, stop, I really don't mean it, come back, which means you're not really saying go away. But when you're in control of it, you are the power over that entity.
and on the subject of addictions, how many people here can define an addiction? And I exclude those I've passed this definition on to.
For me, it's you can't get enough of what you don't need. It's an addiction.
That's one.
Something you can't help.
Something that controls you, you don't control it.
You know, something that you repeatedly do that interferes with your life, and you would rather not have.
It's an emotional Band-Aid.
You're probably
Right.
closest.
Yeah.
An addiction is something you do to avoid feeling a feeling. Bear that in mind, and any time you see a person indulging in addictive behaviour, observe them. See if you can find what feeling they're trying to avoid. And observe any addictive behaviour in yourself the same way. Without judgment, just looking for answers. And sometimes the feelings that you're trying to avoid can be quite easy to discern, close to the surface. Other times they can be buried real deep. One of the little foibles of human nature is that we tend to deny uncomfortable feelings. We push them down, and we keep pushing them down and piling more on top, pushing them down, piling more on top. Not unlike using an old-fashioned pressure cooker. Sooner or later it's going to pop its cork, with some very often uncomfortable results. That hitting the bottom.
Hitting bottom.
Then the only way is up.
Or death.
Well, even that is up.
Just another route. It's a Highway 49 instead of Highway 80.
I don't know if this will be too big of a subject, but I don't understand where a mischievous or ill entity or spirit is coming from, because it's my understanding that all spirits are innately good and are here for lessons, and that you're growing and you're developing. And so I don't understand where, not that I haven't ever heard of them or heard of possessions, but I don't understand where the negative entity comes from?
Well, think about it in terms of people on this physical plane. You have met some people who are mischievous, you've met some people who are inherently not particularly pleasant to be with.
So I always assume them to be at a lower consciousness if they haven't learned how to develop themselves.
They are. But what makes you think they're going to be any different when they return to the spirit planes? As here, so there.
So where you are here,
You are
when
there.
cross, you're crossing right there into that element of spirit.
So if they have those mischievous elements in their character here, they're going to have them when they get back to spirit.
So if we're all developing and growing and going through this process, then did we all come from down here and we're that at some point?
Yeah, but each one of you came from down there a lot longer ago than some of those mischievous ones or the people who are inherently not so pleasant to be with.
Maybe more time, if you will, to evolve.
Yeah.
Either that or you've made better use of your time. So give yourselves a pat on the back. Capiche?
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
You're gonna give yourself a pat on the back.
That's why I said ask questions. There is absolutely no point in me going on if you don't understand. So please take note. If you don't understand, ask the question.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to my question. You're going to assure me that there's no way in working with this work, because that's the way I'm looking at it, that an outside force cannot take over.
Where are you at with your heart?
Oh, would love to be a part of this to help others.
I didn't say what you would love to be. I said, where are you at in your heart?
To help others. To do-
Light, dark, force, free will, God, lesser? Where are you at in your heart?
Okay, got it. Light,
What-
love, God.
What
there
you
you
are is what you will attract.
Okay, thank you. That's what
Like
I'm.
attracts like.
So
Okay.
where do these, are there truly evil spirits?
There is, in my humble estimation, no
Yeah.
such thing as evil,
That's
Except-
what I was trying to get to, okay, sorry.
except in the minds of people.
Okay, yeah.
There are less evolved spirits who do not understand that some behaviours are acceptable and some are not. Some work towards progression and some don't. But to me, there is no such thing as evil.
What about
Other
they
than
do
the
evil?
It'd be
So
like a
then
2-year-old throwing
If
a
you have a
tantrum.
lower level
They don't
person
know.
that is stuck in either anger or addiction, and then you have a spirit that is not as evolved, and then they enter into that person potentially or influencing them, then that's where it exacerbates the negativity. It's not necessarily that the spirit was that evil or that the person was that evil, it's just that they meshed and then created.
They found a
worse.
puppet that was willing to be,
And guess who's pulling the strings?
Okay.
And if you personally have not experienced somebody pulling your strings and pushing your buttons, you have probably seen instances of it happening, where somebody was deliberately pushing somebody's buttons or pulling their strings. That is basically what those spirits will do with any receptive spirit here on earth. They will look for a target.
I have a question. Now, you know how they say there's people that can have dual personalities, like Sybil or whatever, but could that be a spirit? I know of a woman that she would come to my house, her voice was completely higher pitched, she would say some really mean thing, come back the next day, speaking in a lower tone, and going, "Oh, did you just get that?" And I'm like, "You just said yesterday how hideous it was." Now, is that another spirit, or?
It can be, but very often not.
Multiple personalities.
Is it-
Yeah.
disorder.
Yeah.
Like going back to civil, that
Yeah.
sounds like that.
And the best one that I've heard of had 222 separate personalities.
Confusing.
But again,
Back by
that is
That's how they survive.
a way of avoiding reality. It is that person and the spirit in that body choosing for whatever reason to not accept the reality of their life.
It was too terrible to accept.
How terrible is too terrible?
To a child, I mean, Sybil split when she was a child.
Well, this girl that I know, her mom was very violent, very mean.
Yeah, it's creepy.
Now,
Well-
is that somebody you reach out to, or you wait till people come to you, you know?
Best in those situations to wait until they come to you, but far preferable if you can get them to go and see a psychiatrist. A psychologist usually does not have the tools. They might like to claim they do, but it's a whole different ballgame.
Jean?
We all have different personalities.
Sorry?
We all have different personalities. We have inner child, we have the mother, the critical mom, I have different personalities in me. I
It
think
doesn't
everybody-
make you bad, it doesn't make you wrong.
No, it's just who we are.
It's
We're made
just,
up of
you're
different-
coping
It's different,
mechanism.
yeah. Yeah, we always, you have different personalities.
But you're
Well,
aware
I'm
of
talking completely that she does not
No,
know
no, I
that she
see
came to
that.
my house
I see that.
day
That's-
before.
They split off or something. We do.
Yeah. How many of those personalities are you not comfortable with?
Actually, I'm pretty comfortable with myself. In fact, when I need something done, I'll call him Woody. That's my dad, you know. And go, hey, Woody, go kick ass, you know. It's like, I'm happy with myself. But I did emotional release, and I talked to these different personalities. And if they're unhappy, they're causing that person a problem. I say, that's your critical mom, you know, and then you can talk it over with them, and I'll release it, and everybody kind of gets back together again.
But you've integrated them into one system.
Yeah, into one, but you have to let that personality have a voice.
Yeah. My life is compartmentalised into two basic sections. When I'm with people such as you, who understand and accept and want to learn, and when I'm with people who don't understand or accept and aren't interested in learning. And I will quite happily talk about my work, my social life, other aspects with you people here, but unless I'm asked, I never mention this aspect of my life to people who don't understand, accept.
Yeah.
If they ask, by all means, give them as much as they are comfortable with at that time. If they don't ask, there's not much you can do about it. There was one gentleman I used to knock around with a bit back home. It took a little while for it to dawn on me that he was a raving narcissist. He would criticise people no end. I found a way to stop him very, very quickly. I would just say to him, I've found that what people might say about other people actually says more about them than it does about the person they're talking about. And the conversation would take a hurried right angle turn. It was a real good way to stop him criticising people. At least for 15 seconds. And it pays to remember that narcissists in particular, and psychopaths in general, make themselves feel good by tearing other people down. And if you find somebody tearing you down habitually, get out of it. Walk away. Have nothing to do with them. If it's in a work situation, and the company has any sort of anti-bullying program, mention it. But if the person who's doing the bullying, the person who is the narcissist, is at the top, go find a door, quickly. Because you can't do anything about it. Okay, so to various types of mediumship. I've already mentioned overheads. That is tuning in directly to the person. And that, to me, is the ultimate form of one-on-one mediumship. And it's what probably the majority of platform workers do. Not all, but the majority. It is also the most convenient form, the easiest to use, because you don't need to carry anything with you, just your awareness. Then there's psychometry, which is the reading of a personal object, which includes a flower that somebody has had in their possession for some little time to impart their vibrations to it. And in those cases you hold the object in your hand or up against your forehead or wherever you feel like holding it, and you tune into the vibrations of that object. And that is also a fairly direct form of mediumship, because you are tuning into something that has that person's vibrations on it. When you start going to playing cards, tarot cards, runes, crystals, etc., you're getting more distant from the person's vibrations. So, to my mind, they are less effective methods of tuning into a person. That is not to say that they're bad. It's not to say that they're good. It just is. So I would suggest to each and every one of you who wish to become working mediums to develop the art of doing overheads, tuning in directly to the person. Those same forms of mediumship also apply to healing, which is and of itself another form of mediumship. I personally like to think of healing as the ultimate form of mediumship. That is not to say that the others are not good, but to me, every person that you heal or that is healed is contributing to making this world, this existence and this universe a better place in which to live, to learn and to grow. Some of you may be drawn to healing. Some of you may be drawn to various forms of mediumship. Does not matter. The whole object of the exercise is to pass on three things. Proof of survival of death, communication with those who have passed over, and accumulating knowledge, wisdom, healing, whatever. Those are the three main purposes of mediumship.
Could you repeat 2 and 3?
I'll repeat the whole lot.
Whole lot, okay, thank you.
Proof of survival of death. Communication with those who have passed over. Acquiring, accumulating knowledge and understanding to make this plane in particular a better one in which to live. To help ourselves to become more spiritual. Enough said?
Can I ask one question and then I'll be quiet?
Sorry?
Can I ask one question and I'll be quiet?
It'll cost you.
When I read people, I read them. Is that reading? I'm not doing spirit. Now I'm still medium. Or am I psychic?
Would you believe you're doing an overhead?
That's fine. That's an overhead. Because
Yeah.
I'm dealing with their higher self.
Right.
Yeah.
Or their baby. I always talk to babies. Ugh.
Why
I
not?
think that is pretty special.
It is.
They are more truthful than most adults.
What?
They are more truthful than most
Oh, yeah,
adults.
they know
Yeah,
exactly.
pure spirit, huh?
They know
Pure
exactly why they're
spirits.
there. And dogs.
Animals are more truthful than most humans.
They don't have much to say though.
You'd be surprised.
They do. Santa
They
knows
should
talk
talk
to
I don't have long conversations with them. Just happy.
You two are
Monday.
you two ought to compare some notes.
Can you feel that weight on your shoulder?
No.
There's a horse comes up and occasionally leans on her shoulder and
Yeah.
whispers in her ear.
Oh gosh.
I won't give his name.
Tell you.
Is he in spirit?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
And I used to have a Great Dane, all 10 stone of the big slob. He could stand up and put his paws on my shoulders and look down into my eyes. At the time that I had him, I could be coming home any one of 5 different directions. 2 by road, 3 through the bush. If I was coming home by road, he would usually be out the front of the house to meet me. If I was coming home through the bush, he would meet me anything up to half a mile from home. There was no way knowing that given the time span that it took him to travel from home to where he would meet me, he could hear me coming over the traffic noise not very far in front of the house. And yet he was still out there to meet me. Now, how?
Telepathy.
Telepathy. And those 3 different directions, there would have been somewhere between a quarter and a third of a mile between them. But he was still there, on the right path.
My little dog always knows if I hurt somewhere. She comes up and starts like to look at, like one little spot, right? Exactly where it hurt.
Yeah. And for the past 10 or 12 years, they've been using dogs, or experimenting with dogs, to sniff out cancers. How? A dog's sense of smell is 1,200 times stronger than the average human.
Also seizures. Seizures.
Yeah,
People
seizures,
die of
yeah.
seizures.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've been doing that for a while.
My dad had a beagle, and whenever Dad was getting ready to go to the hospital, that dog would sleep up under his side of the bed. Any other time, he's laying all over the house, anywhere else, out in the yard. But whenever he started sleeping up under my dad's side of the bed, something was getting ready to happen. Me end up in the hospital.
They even use the dogs, I think, that smell whether or not someone's sugar level is too high or too low, to warn them that they're going to have some kind of a, attack. That's pretty impressive, Something.
And when the tornado went through Joplin, 2011, I was over there 6 weeks after the tornado went through. A contact over there showed me through the place, and he was telling me they had sniffer dogs in there the day after the tornado, looking for people who were trapped, dead, etc. There was a guy who appeared to be in his early 40s, crew haircut, fairly no-nonsense sort of attitude about him, came in and offered to help look for survivors and bodies. Yeah, all help gladly received. So he pulled a bottle of Tabasco sauce out of his pocket, took the cap off, put a drop on his finger, put the cap back on, and he'd clear everybody out of the area, and he'd start going through it. And he was finding as many people and bodies as the dogs.
Wow.
He was a Marine in the Marine Recon section. And he had figured out that by putting Tabasco on his tongue, it cleared his sinuses. He didn't smoke, he didn't drink, and he could smell damn near as good as the dogs. I thought, there is a gentleman who has come to know himself. And I would be prepared to bet that even if he didn't attach the same names to it that we do here, he had a lot of the same values. But that is just one form of awareness that you can cultivate.
I have a question. If something comes through dreams and you're aware of things more in your dreams, is that then a tool, or what would that be representing?
Dreams usually come in 2 forms. One is a form of processing something that we're not particularly comfortable with, or that we haven't figured out what the meaning to it is. And the other is a form of prophecy. So it's either past or future.
So it's not a tool. It is part of your intuition intact. It's a safe way that you can receive that information. Otherwise, your body shuts down. Your consciousness won't accept what you're receiving in a
So
awakened state.
When it has to do with other people,
Again, well, if you're not involved directly, then it is quite possibly something to do with the future. If it's something that you have observed and you don't understand, it could be you processing it.
But I think her question was, does she tell that person that it's directed to? And that process isn't your decision to make, and that's what they expect of you.
or I guess even more so what I do with that information or how
Right.
I fine tune it, I guess, because I know when somebody's going to cross over, but I don't know who it is, but I will have the exact same repetitive dream for at least 30 days, and over the last 10 years, it's directly related to somebody I'm in contact with that then will cross over shortly after.
And that actually brings us back to the concept of this, and that's being a responsible medium.
Mhm.
Okay.
So just hold
Right.
that information.
Unless it's expected of you. If your family knows of you to be that, then yeah, they're gonna expect that you're gonna tell them when something's up.
Well, I would have no way to tell anybody. I just know that it's going to happen.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I don't
Then,
have.
then that's your information.
Okay.
If you feel it would cause distress, then definitely don't pass it on.
Yeah. No, I mean, I just.
If you feel that the person would be open to receiving it and welcome it, then tentatively pass it on. Sound them out. But it's a very, very rare person that is open to receiving that kind of information.
No, and it's not so much that I want to share. I guess I'm just like,
You're
how
trying
do you
to stop
develop
it.
that?
Yeah.
No, not even
Well,
stop. Like, what do you
developing
do?
it is a matter of accepting that it's there, becoming aware. The awareness of it then expands to the waking state, and you consciously put an effort to trying to develop it while you're either in meditation or bringing that awareness to you so that you can accept what it's being handed.
Okay.
But one of the things you have to ask yourself is, why is it that you'd be receiving that? If you're right. So part of being a conscientious medium is also knowing that it's not your job to rush out and tell everybody what you get. It's not about who you are as an individual. Again, you're the conduit. You're the buck stops here person. You are going to represent spirit in that. If you're bombarding someone walking up, hey, you know what, I just seen your mother and she said, you suck. That is not a valid message to be bringing to anyone, ever. That is not responsible mediumship. You're representing spirit, and spirit is of light and love, period. If you can't get a message across to someone that brings that thought up, keep your mouth shut, period. It doesn't matter if you just got told the whole world's coming to an end, such date, such time, and you know exactly who's pushing the button. Stop. The reality of being a medium doesn't mean that just because of what you say comes across as concrete. People have free will to determine their fate. So you can be given message from spirit. It doesn't mean it's written in stone.
And having received those messages, when that person does pass on, do you feel less uncomfortable about their passing than you would if you hadn't been pre-warned?
I've come actually to kind of let go of the grief associated with it. That's why even when we're talking about relationships, over the past year, I don't feel that loss anymore. But it started probably about 12 years ago when my aunt had passed away. That was unexpected, and that was really, really traumatizing for me. But I realized that she's always with me in different forms. But since that moment, that time, that's when I started acquiring those dreams, and I know they come to me. I don't share them actually with most people because I don't have anybody to share it with. It'll just end up being, my grandpa then passed away, or my other aunt, or then my uncle. And
So then you establish a rapport with that individual before they've ever crossed. You've seen what's going to happen.
Mhm.
Now you're a clear conduit for them to come to after they've passed.
Okay.
So that thought means that they have access to someone now that's still here.
so that, okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
And
helps.
that gives you the ability to know that you got that for a reason. Not always do you get something for the reason of sharing it. Sometimes you get something for the lesson that it brings you specifically when it had nothing to do with you. One time real quick, one of the first things I learned was you have to learn to shut it off or shut it down. You cannot be a wide open receiver walking aimlessly receiving message from spirit. That can hurt. I'm in a car running 80 with my husband and my 13-year-old daughter. We're on our way to Reno. Randomly, blah, 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 blah. And I see this guy and this little girl walking by the road, and I get stopped dead because I see a vision of him throwing her out in front of a truck. And I melted down. And my husband says to me, you need to because you're scaring the crap out of your 13-year-old daughter in the back seat. What am I going to do with that information? All I see is a guy and a little girl. I feel the unconditional love from the little girl to the dad, and I know exactly what's going to take place. Who am I going to tell? Go to Reno, 5-6 hours gone, come back. Sure as life. Alongside the road right there, the paramedics, the coroners, the lines, everything shut off. You thought I was melting down when I went by there? I melted down for sure. Oh my God. Pull over, I gotta call someone, I gotta tell someone. Get on the phone, I'm ready to call sheriff, call dispatch. What am I gonna say? I seen someone walking on the side of the road with a little girl, so that's how it started. Seen somebody walking on the side of the road with a little girl. I know who this guy is, or I saw him. She said, ma'am, we have him in custody. I said, did he hurt her? And she said, yes, he killed her. Immediately straight home to my guy, what was this for? Because if this is an ability, I don't want it anymore. Take it back. This is not a gift. Why did I have to experience that? That was not okay. Nothing I could do with that information at all. He said, you need to learn from it. Shut it down. Control it. Don't let it control you. You cannot be at the mercy of. This is something you need to develop. This is a part of that whole package on being a professional, responsible, effective medium. And that's to know when to be in control and shut it down. So there's a point even to the messages you receive, even if it isn't about you. It may be a learning experience for you to understand by as well.
All of which brings us to protection.
Yes.
There are God knows how many different versions of protection. Back in the days when I started off, I was told you have to open your chakras up and you close them down. And you make sure you close your emotional chakra down very firmly, etc., etc. You can wrap it up in spiritual spider's web, or you can put one-way glass in front of it, or put a stainless steel shield around it. Endless different versions. And as time went on, something in here is busily going round, or maybe it was up there communicating with here. The thought occurred to me that the best possible form of protection was purity of thought and intent. Yeah, that sounds like it could work. So I went along with that for a few years. And as time went on and the sides of the box got lower until they disappeared, and it finally dawned on me that the big fella needs good, honest mediums, channels, healers. And he is not going to let harm come to those who serve him honestly and wholeheartedly. And that is the form of protection that I have been living with for the last 25 years or so.
Mine as well.
And I think I can honestly say not a single thing has happened to me untoward in all that time. But I have managed to help, or at least other people have told me that I've managed to help them, time without number. That satisfies me. If other people say that I'm doing good, what better reference do I have? I can't look at them and say, I've done good, or I've hurt them. It has to be their feedback. Sometimes you will get feedback. Other times you won't. There is a spiritualist church back home which changed management about 13 years ago. When I first went there was a very stiff and starchy old Scots lady running it. She would not have healing or permit healing in a development circle. This is a development circle, no healing here. Well, up until that time, I had thought that the good Lord wasn't terribly fussy where the healing took place, so long as it took place. And I haven't changed my perspective one little bit. I was doing some healing in the message only circle here last night. And I didn't have anybody telling me to stop, did I?
Terry, did you have a question? Terry had a question.
Oh, I was just kind of curious. With her dreams, is there any way that she could kind of stop them? She said she dreams for 30 days. And then if you, this depth ongoing. So
I
you must
dream all
have,
the time.
huh?
I dream every single night. I have very, very vivid dreams all the time.
Yeah,
When
but
she
you know,
pulls that to
we all
the,
dream,
when
but
she
we dream
pulls that
about
to the
things.
conscious, she
huh?
can pull it out. When she pulls that to the conscious in the waking state, she can pull it out of the dream state. But for right now, that's the safest way she can receive that intuition.
Oh,
Yes, she
okay,
can
so
say
that's
stop.
That's her pathway
Yes.
she's using? Oh, but if she got tired of, the dreaming for 30 consecutive days because she got a clue that somebody died, and that's, death is constant, so she'll be doing that all the time. I mean, wouldn't you get tired of that?
No, she won't be doing it all the
I would think there'd be a way for her
time.
to not have to do that. What?
She won't be doing it all the time.
Oh, okay.
There will come a
There's a
time when
shut-off
she
time?
realises that she only needs it once.
Right. When she brings that to her consciousness, she doesn't need to continuously, repetitively dream the same thing to get it. But she brings it to the waking state, she doesn't have to dream it at all. That's her mechanism to allow it to happen. That's our subconscious ability to get out of the way and let spirit come through. She receives message that way.
Okay. But she's in control and she can stop that?
Yes, you can.
Okay, that's what I was curious about. Because I was like, oh my God, that makes her
there's
kind of a victim.
Kind of
having-
prepare the person.
Right.
And then
And
heal them and start.
she may not be able to stop it at the moment,
Okay.
but if she feels the need to stop it or the desire to stop it, she will eventually learn.
Learn how to shut it down. Now, we've got about a half hour left. Would you like to run through a demo or a description about how people can prepare themselves to receive information from spirit?
Yeah, first one, I'd like you to pair off. Whoever, just pick a partner. Probably just turn to face the person next to you.
Carol.
Okay, turn your chairs to face each other. Everybody got a partner?
Okay.
Let's turn around. Go for it. Off my turn.
Yeah, grab it.
Oh, wait, you don't, wait,
Okay, you want
Yeah.
I need somebody.
Sita.
Yep.
Oh, very good.
Come on over.
Do you want me to move? Oh, either one. I think you're staying.
Bring your chair closer. You and I turn around.
Looks very red. It is.
Right, everybody organised?
Okay, so this one probably isn't noteworthy, so put your papers down, clear your space,
This is an experiential thing.
feet flat on the floor.
Now, what I want you to do is one person rub their hands briskly together for about 10 seconds, and then hold them about 8 inches apart and be aware of how they feel to you. Rub them together. And then, when you're aware of how they feel to you, ask the other person to put one hand in between them.
Put one hand in between.
Hand between.
And notice any changes.
Yeah, I think
Hold it there, hold it solid.
Both sides.
But I've been feeling you energy next.
Ask, is there any change in the energy? Is it the same both sides? Is it hot or is it cold?
Oh, this is hotter on this side.
You're getting a shift on one side more than the other? You too? How about you?
And then change hands.
If one side is.
Change hands.
Whichever hand you put in first, take it out and put the other one in.
Okay, put your other hand. Energy.
Okay, swap activities.
Okay. Oh, feet on the floor, flat on the floor,
Okay, put your hand in there.
okay. On this side, by left.
As you feel.
Still cold. More energy
And
this
I
way.
feel in the palm of the right.
Hot energy there.
What side? Hold it still. Yeah. Yep.
Cooler.
It's like a strong energy emanating on my left.
I want to use this one, I felt it all over.
Okay, change hands.
I could feel it.
Feel the difference?
Then this one feels more even, like I could feel the energy on both hands.
This is warm. This is warm.
Okay, resume your normal positions, please.
All right, take your feet back in a circle.
End of exercise.
Okay, what was that?
Oh, there's some.
Okay.
I just didn't know that with my granddaughter.
What are we supposed to do?
Oh,
Back in the circle? Oh, goodness. It's one way to move.
Wow.
I'm starting onto that side.
Okay, you've all heard of the chakras.
Chakras, yeah.
You have the 7 main ones down through the body. I've been told that there are 52 of them altogether, mostly located in the joints, other than the 7 main ones. But there are 2 healing chakras, one in the palm of each hand. And what you have just been experiencing is the energy and the interaction between those healing chakras of your own and then the chakras of the person who put the hand in the middle. And the polarity, difference in polarity when they changed hands. Because as I understand it, the right hand is positive, left hand is negative. But you have energy coming out of both of them until such time as you actually start using them for healing. That is when the polarity comes around. Most people find that the energy comes into the patient, the subject, through their right hand and is taken out and returned to spirit through the left hand. Occasionally, I am aware that the polarity is reversed. The energy is being taken out through the left hand, but not replaced or not sent in through the right hand. And always I have found that to be the easiest way to balance that person's energy. Some aspect of the person's energy is out of whack, and it needs that aspect draining and then replenished right through the body to restore balance. But that is one way of developing awareness of spiritual energy and mediumship, of tuning into a person. And that's what you've all just done. Okay, now I'd like you to take a personal object of your own choosing.
Something we touch all the time?
Just something that you, use.
And hand it to the person on the other side of whom you were partnered with. That is, you copy this.
The other side.
Okay. So do I hand it to her since she was my partner?
Well,
Yes.
Find somebody
Okay.
different to give it to.
Okay.
Well, then who does she go to?
She goes to the
Same
other
person who's partners?
Just find somebody different than you partnered with to hand it to.
Okay.
Somebody different.
So one of you have to go over there.
She's different.
No.
Just give it to her then.
It's rocket science.
Yeah. Now, once you have that object in your hand, once you have that object in your hand, still your mind and see what impressions come to you from that object.
Still your mind, hold that object.
You can place another hand over the top of it, you can hold it in one hand, or put it against your forehead or your chest or your solar plexus or whatever. It doesn't matter how you do it. Okay, now we'll go very quickly around the circle.
Cindy. What'd you get?
I get health issues.
Okay, good enough.
Okay.
Good enough. Kathy, what'd you get? Just first impression, what'd you get? Right off the top of your head.
It's lightness.
Okay.
And
That's good. That's good. Crystal?
Emotional release.
Emotional?
I got a helpful tool, makes me feel safe.
Raj?
Windfall. Right as bracelet. Windfall.
It's mine.
Oh, you sharing?
I shall.
Adrian?
Find your seat.
Necessity? Cynthia?
A large valley oak on a hill.
What?
Valley oak tree on a hill.
Okay.
Yes.
Carol?
I got a lot of energy, vibrancy, warmth, joyfulness,
Good. Good, good.
a lot of warmth.
Yeah. Bradley?
I just saw freedom
Freedom.
driving, like the wind in your hair.
Carol?
It makes you feel
A
good.
picture of an elk, like a military, a V. Remember?
Chevron.
Tattoo?
No, not a tattoo, like a patch.
Oh,
Yeah,
sure.
chevron.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Ranks.
Yeah.
Just
Okay, cool. Okay. And what'd you get?
Oh, I got just heart, but I didn't get further, but it felt like the heart.
Physical heart or emotional?
I think it was more physical.
Okay, that's fine.
Was it-
That's good. Okay.
And I got light, like there was nothing there, just a lot of light.
Okay, good. Terry?
My first thing was stress, and the second thing was studious.
Students?
Studious.
Studious, okay. All
Studious.
right. Linda?
I got a picture of an eye
Cool.
looking out.
Okay.
I just feel pulsing.
Like feeling it,
Pulsating,
hearing
no.
it?
Ovi.
It felt more physical, pulsing from underneath and on top.
So was mine pulsing.
Yes, I feel it too.
Okay. Becky?
It's like,
I actually felt three different things.
Uh-huh.
I felt a box immediately,
Okay.
and a big bow, and I felt a lot of love.
Oh.
Was these a gift? Granddaughter?
They were a gift, but not a granddaughter.
Yeah, again.
Good for you.
Whew.
Good for you.
And I'm not. I've never used, I use it very, very seldom. That's
Good for you. All right, give your things back.
I live on
But you still
And it
have
wouldn't
some.
change. It wouldn't
And this
always
is
just-
lime oil.
Yeah,
Lime,
something
right?
changes.
All right, come on, let's get a couple more exercises in.
So it could be turkey.
Do you have to choose them?
Oh, I asked my son, I have it, I always wanted to, I wanted you to.
Okay, so now I want you to pick whoever you're sitting straight across from. And just kind of get real,
Very.
establish who you're connected to before you
Are
start.
we sitting straight up?
Oh, okay, pretty much.
Linda, okay.
If she was straight, you'd be closer to her.
Oh,
Right.
straight, okay.
Going that way.
Okay,
Don't
so
diagonally across
everybody
the
has
circle.
somebody. Which one of you three are on me?
I'm in the middle.
Yeah, it's you. So you're here.
Right?
No, Bradley's me. You're here. Okay?
And I'm gonna be there?
Yeah.
Okay. So now,
Nobody.
Becky, you're gonna be with Carol when she
She's
comes. No?
later.
Really?
Yeah, we're together.
We're good.
We've been.
Nori, who are you with? Linda, who are you with? So Carol's gonna be left out.
I'm with Adrian.
I don't
have anybody for Jan.
I don't have anybody.
Okay.
Right, you two are in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we still together with the blue?
Okay.
Or we can.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
I'm with the
you're
lady.
good. Oh, okay, green.
We're green.
Carol's got Santa, Bradley's got me, and you've got
You're with
these.
her.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's
All right.
one to come back. That's going to confuse the issue.
Yes.
I know to her already.
Ah, okay.
You got Carol, that was sitting there?
No.
Ada,
Ada?
and
Okay.
your name is
Becky.
Ada and Becky.
I'm really into it.
Let her go first.
Right, quickly.
What are we supposed to do?
Just tune in very quickly.
Listen.
You can do this while everybody's still going around.
Same as you did while you were hanging on to the object. Try and tune into the person without the object.
Oh, I
I'm
see.
feeling tummy pains.
All right.
Tummy pains.
Because I mean,
Really, 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 really strong. Yeah, like really bad.
You're not pregnant.
Oh, right here.
What time is it?
Tummy. Real strong. Like,
Okay.
it's interesting, my grandma Ada died of that when she was 40. I was born the day of her funeral.
Okay. That's
Could be for me or somebody else.
She's got grandma.
You got my grandma.
yeah, real strong. No, she's gone.
Yeah,
Gone.
yeah, that's what it was.
Gone.
Because I'm fine. I'm fine. Okay.
Okay. And do you?
I got joy and happiness. I just got, whoo, whoo, I want to know this person. Just really like joy and happiness. Exciting person to be around.
Okay.
You're on the right path.
Okay, Linda? Nori, sorry.
I got strength and knowledge, like a totem pole.
My grandmother's Native American and she's a medicine woman.
Good job.
Oh my
What'd you get for her?
Whoa.
Oh my God.
I see a light right here for you, and I get tingling in my forearms, but you're surrounded by light.
Good. Linda?
I'm seeing a ruby that's kind of been hidden, and that's, the thing that it's hidden in is kind of like a flower, and it's opening.
A ruby.
A ruby.
That's my birthstone.
Yeah.
I'm born in July.
And what do you get, Raj?
A boat.
Right on.
A boat.
A boat.
Yeah, you know, like a boat, and it's you sail or a boat.
I like water, but I have it on boats before, but maybe it's in the future.
Okay.
A boat can also be floating through troubles without being affected by them.
It would be a metaphor.
Okay.
Okay,
Because I
that's-
see a
that's a
boat,
nice
and
one.
she's happy in the boat.
Yeah.
Very happy.
Good.
A boat. Okay.
Terry?
Well, what I'm feeling from Adrian is I think she's elated. I think she's very happy to be in this environment and be exposed to this knowledge. She is just very happy.
Good. Adrian, what'd you get for her?
I see a woman's sun hat. I see, like freshness. It feels fresh. It feels like outdoor nature fresh and gardening.
Good.
Okay, I'm not seeing anything, but I'm hearing. And I hear that you're telling me you're sensitive, you're sweet, you're a mother, you're gentle, and you're peaceful.
She's mothering, but
She's,
she's not a
yeah,
mother.
she's a mother of
Maybe
all.
mother.
Yeah, mother,
Thanks.
yeah.
Good. What'd you get for her, Dawn?
I didn't get all that. I got that your inquiry, you have inquiry now, and I just saw a picture of you like in the light, and you were on like the landing of steps, and I can't remember. I think you were kind of going to run down the steps, but you were kind of in a hurry. And so whatever it is you're trying to find out, you're happy about it, but you're kind of in a hurry, not like anxious, bad, but just come on, you know.
That should be a little message in there for you.
Get on there. Get on with it.
What'd you get?
I get super sensitive and a lot on your heart, maybe holding. Well,
Emotional?
and then- yeah, it feels more emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe not yours, I don't know. And knees. For some reason, the knees keep coming up strong.
You're right.
Okay, great.
What'd you get?
I'm getting, okay, I go into health. There's a little bit of stress on you on one side. There's sleep issues with you, and a little bit of energy issues, but there's light coming from one side. You're going to get help from someone.
I
And-
woke up at 4:30 this morning.
Okay.
I'm super tired.
Yes. That's where I get it from.
There you go. All right.
And stressed over a grown child.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
Carol?
The child that I told.
Cynthia, I do see your horse behind your right
You do.
shoulder.
She nailed you.
I saw a bright sun, bright yellow sun.
Good. Yay. All right. Bradley?
I'm seeing very, really beautiful blue in your throat area, and that gives you clarity as you speak. And then in the fourth, there's gold that comes out through and down your hands. So when you do your mediumship healings, you're giving me physical as well as clairvoyant healings.
Okay, good. I didn't tune in on you, but I will. Actually, I'm going to have Carol do that.
Okay.
Okay? So while you're sitting there, can you tune in on Bradley really quick? We're going to go around and catch up with everybody else. Carol, turn into Bradley, the lady with the coral shirt right there, and tell me what you get.
What am I supposed to be tuning in on?
Just whatever comes to you.
Exactly what you did when you were holding the object
Just
in your
exactly how you
hand.
did with the hand.
Uh-huh.
And we'll get back to you. Jean.
I see a lot of honesty and energy.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. With you, I got a settling phase. There's a lot of things coming together and they're settling into place. And that will pertain for the next few months until you're ready to start moving on. You've got to learn to integrate those things into your life.
Thank you.
Okay, Carol, what are you getting?
I'm just getting energy and peacefulness.
Okay.
Good. I'm trying to see if I can feel anything with any ailments, and I can't pick up on anything.
Good.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, so
All right.
Okay, now that you've all had a go at mediumship and you've all had some level of success, don't tell me, yourselves, or anybody else that you can't do it, because you all can. Now, as I said before, some of you will find yourselves doing platform work, some of you will find yourselves doing reading, some of you will find yourselves doing healing. I was told a long time ago by a lady who was supposedly quite wise that I should specialise. Me being me, I just chose to ignore it. And I think that has been one of the wisest decisions of my life. Make your own choices about what form or forms of mediumship you want to get involved in, and always remember the responsibilities. To tell the truth, nothing but the truth, but not necessarily the whole truth if you feel it would cause distress. And the biggest responsibility of all is to yourself. Know how much you can take, how much you can give, and when you feel that it is more than you either want to give or are capable of giving, stop. Never let yourself become drained. I have had contact with a lot of mediums who say that doing mediumship work leaves them feeling drained. To me, they're doing it the wrong way. They're trying to do it of, from and by themselves instead of allowing themselves to be a channel. I have never yet done a platform or a reading where I haven't walked away feeling personally uplifted myself, as well as seeing other people walk away. That is what being a channel is about. As I said earlier, like pouring water through a pipe, you can't do it without getting the insides of the pipe wet, meaning some of the energy stays with you.
Yeah, I was, I've been told over the years by different mediums that when they do channel, it can take a lot out of you. And I was also told that, like, okay, let's say, well, Loretta, she channels, let's say she just finished channeling, or maybe still channeling, and then I went over to touch her. They said, well, that could be dangerous, don't do that. Don't do that.
That's
that
usually
could
in a
harm them
trance.
in
That's,
some way.
that's only usually in a trance suggestive if they're totally out. Like when I did rescue,
Yeah,
I'm all the way out of that situation. I'm in a green room somewhere. I'm not aware of what's going on. Yes, physical harm, obstruction, or any kind of startling impact can hurt that individual. But as a conscious channel, not so much. But it can be startling. So you don't really want to walk up, bum rush somebody when they're in the process of giving information. It'll bring them right out. You'll break their connection immediately for sure.
Yeah.
But it's not unless they're out of the body itself, and that's for the physical medium that's going to have more of a destruct on that.
The only reason for interrupting them is imminent physical danger.
Yeah,
Fire, earthquake.
Some negative impacts going on, so you want to break that connection because you don't want them to be caught up in all that negative energy if you see it. Right?
Well, or if it's coming at them, literally, tornado, fire, if something happening, pick them up,
so
move
you
them on.
definitely, to protect them, you definitely would want to cut that, break that.
Right.
So back to protection, what I've heard is that before you start to try to do any readings or channeling, that you ask for a protection, right? Do you have a particular
It's a
prayer
good
that
rule
you
of thumb.
say?
That prayer that I used at the start is something that I use before I start healing or doing this sort of work.
And that's
every
just
time.
one you made up yourself? Okay. So I should cue in on purity of thought and intent.
Yeah.
Anything else?
If you want to take it a step further, be the purest, most honest channel that you possibly can, knowing that God needs those channels for His work. And if you are doing it honestly, truthfully, and lovingly, you will be looked after.
And if you can be honest, that's what you need to ask yourself first before you step into the role of a medium, and that is why you're doing it. Why do you want to be a medium?
And if it's to big note yourself, stop.
You don't. It's not for the title. It's for the service of. It's the work.
Can I ask, so on the terms of protection, can't you ask your own spirit to protect you?
Yeah.
So it's kind of, you come in tune with your own spirit and let them know.
And it can be
meditation.
the input, the integrity of the thought is what will keep the protection in place. Basically, when I do it, I ask for the white light blessing of protection. It's just as simple as that. But as I do it, I visualize encircling anybody that's involved with whatever it is that I'm doing, and I create a sphere with the intent of nothing but white light and love can penetrate it. Period. And that's as simple as it. It doesn't have to be out loud. You don't have to do a 20-minute meditation. You need to maybe sometimes prepare yourself and get yourself in a spot. I always bring a blessing down. I always prepare myself, get myself away from anything going on in my life, because that can compromise the integrity or the purity of the channel. So this is not about where if you're a drama queen, you bring your crap into a setting. This is where you got to get out of the way. And if you cannot do that honestly, you don't belong in a medium position. So if you're walking into a room with an agenda, or you see someone that you think your opinion is going to count, and you use that in the reading, that's not you being a responsible, effective medium. That's you with an agenda.
And any time you find yourself trying to do a reading for somebody to manipulate them, back off.
That's not a reading.
So you want to have maintain neutrality.
If you feel that somebody's doing a reading for you to manipulate you, say thanks but no thanks.
And if you know when you're walking into a situation, if you've got a lot of personal stuff and you're not going to be able to separate yourself out of that, you need to be able to say, I can't, or I won't, or just don't put yourself in a position. You're not in a place to be an effective, responsible medium,
And
no matter how bad you want it.
That goes back to personal integrity.
One time, I was having a reading, it wasn't here, it was some other place, but I was having a reading, and the medium said, I'm sorry, but I can't read you. His energy was too low. I think that was pretty.
That was honest enough for her to say she couldn't,
and I
probably
didn't.
not a valid reason, but honest enough that she would say, I can't, and
Yeah,
that's
she
good.
says, she didn't take his money, she didn't offer anything, she just said, come back when you're feeling, a little bit stronger, he was weak, and she felt that low energy, so she just said, no, it's not a good time for you to have a reading.
That's relevant, but.
Yeah.
And another thing you'll come across is people might ask you for a reading, but they are so closed off that you can't read them.
Mm-hmm.
Just be honest and say, I'm sorry, I can't read you.
Unless you're me and you want to out them in your spot. Which isn't always the right thing to do, which is who I
I thought you said we were
am.
supposed to be responsible.
Okay, so I weigh that pro and con. If that person's sitting across from me, they've come here for a reason. If they need to hear their clothes off, they're going to hear it. I'm going to do it in light. I'm going to give it to them with all the love I've got. I'm not going to criticize them or put them down or judge them for it. I don't care what you tell me. Your history is your history, and you got a reason for it. But if Spirit's got a message, I'm going to deliver it.
Yeah, I was told by a pretty good medium not too long ago that, Spirit tells you what you need to know.
That's right.
Really. That message is coming through, whether you're ready for it or not sometimes, but not the negative stuff.
No.
But constructive stuff for your growth, spiritual growth. Spirit knows that that's what you need, and it will come out through the medium.
Because see, that's one of my concerns, coming across as harsh, or, well, I don't think I'm judgmental, but I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Right.
So
It's in the delivery. It's in the delivery.
Yeah.
All right? It's about the approach and how you can provide that information that's not going to shut them down and close them off. You got somebody sitting like this, I guarantee you're working with somebody that A, doesn't want to hear what you have to say, or they're scared to death about what you're going to say. And so this is what you're dealing with. And whether they're aware of it or not, they can have walked through that door on their own voluntary terms, but they're still sitting in that mindset. Prove it to me, or please God, don't out me right here in front of everybody, because I don't want to hear what you have to say.
Okay.
Most of you in my groups have seen me deal with just exactly that. So, there's just it's about the delivery. But never do you come across to someone like, this is what you need to deal with, and if you don't like it, well, shame on you, that's your problem. That's not effective, that's not responsible, ever.
That's the mother,
Okay.
the critical mother.
And it's not something that you're willing to have to receive, in general, but.
Let's just say that you saw something pretty traumatic to that person. Do you tell them? Or?
Again, you gotta feel it out, baby.
Yeah.
Maybe this is not, and when you're sitting in a group full of people, it's gonna be different than when you're one-on-one.
Remember the example I gave you earlier on? of seeing a person walking out of the room being hit by a car and killed, don't pass it on in that form. Find a way of saying it more gently, like I see a possibility of an accident involving a motor vehicle and I advise caution. Pass it on in a non-specific form. Then it's up to the recipient what they do with it.
I worked in a couple of people that Spirit was tell them that they're gonna die if they keep doing that. I'm like, well, you say that. know.
But you can say it in such a way.
But I could, now that I'm hearing you say it, because it was shocking to them, but they needed to know because they were dying. But unless they turn their thing around. But I could have told them differently. I could have said, you know.
You've got choices to make, and there may be here a time where one of those choices is not going to be good to your longevity.
You need to do something with your
Exactly.
diet. Your
So,
diet. But they needed a, kind of a wake up slap or something. I didn't know that. I kept saying, please don't make me say that.
Another way of approaching that is to say, I'm being told that you have some business affairs that you need to get in order.
And if there's some of the hammer.
No, you don't say you need to get your business affairs in order. You have some business affairs that you need to get in order. That way you're not putting an end to it. You're just saying there's some.
Maybe you should think about family photos.
Okay, so any more questions? Anything else? Anybody
Well,
want to?
I was just taking a chance here, sharing. I'm a newbie dowser, but I've been dowsing for 20 years, but I haven't, practice makes perfect. And one of the things in dowsing, because some of you were saying, how do I protect myself, or should I be doing this? There's 3 questions we're taught to always ask before you douse. You always say, may I do this? Can I do it? And should I be doing it? And if you get yes for all those 3 questions, then go ahead with what you're doing. But you may get a no, that you should, this is not the time for asking, questions. So I don't know if that helps anyone.
What do you do? Yeah, I was just gonna ask, because I'm new to all of this. Well, I'm not new, I'm very aware of it, but I don't know how to use it, and that's why I'm here. Will you explain what that means?
A dowser? Have you ever heard of the rods, the water witching?
Water witching, yes.
Yeah, I use pendulum,
Oh, right.
I use the rods and I use a pendulum, but the rods speak to me. But you're just saying, and I know they're a tool, they just reinforce to me the answers I'm getting are correct. And then maybe as I practice more, I can listen. Some people can use fingers or,
That's muscle testing.
press your arm down for yeses or nos, or leaning forwards and backwards.
How much trouble did you have reading for Bradley?
For the gal in the coral?
Yeah.
A bit.
But you managed it.
Yes. I need to develop.
Yep.
I started with dowsing and I could see my yes and no's, and I would only ask yes and no questions and you could see them.
Yeah.
And also, I found in dowsing, if you say, can I do this, you get a yes, but is it good for me? You'll say no.
Should I be doing it?
Should I be doing it?
Or may
Because,
I?
You can do anything as far as the dowsers are concerned.
Just remember,
Because we all have the ability, but it's should I be doing
right,
this?
we all have this ability. It's all a matter of energy you're receiving. It's a matter of energy. And it's a matter of how you receive it and what you do with it.
Okay, can you explain to me the difference of medium and healing? That was hard for me.
Healing is a form of mediumship. And very
Healing
often
the spirit.
being a medium can be a form of being a healer. Because what you're passing on to that person is something they need to know for their own well-being. So the two are very often intermingled. But then again, they can be separate.
Yeah, on our Friday night circles, many people, including myself, came to this church shortly after our son had passed away. And I came here to be healed. And the messages I received in the circle on Friday nights at this church is what helped my husband and I deal with that loss. And we met more and more people. Every week we came, there was someone in that group that had just lost someone. We're going through the same thing we went through. And 10 years later, I'm still seeing it, But it is healing, definitely.
I can feel the energy.
And whether it's a healing of the soul in that, or it's a progression of, hey, you can do it, you can do this, step up, it's okay. I'm giving you validation that you have what you needed. That's a healing. That's allowing you to move forward. So the healing is relevant in the term, whether it's a physical, emotional, or spiritual, it's
Right.
still healing.
Yeah.
And that was what I did at the end of the circle last night, when I gave those bulk messages about people needing to stop feeling sorry and sad and start celebrating having known that person.
Yeah.
You say you're gonna be here tomorrow at church?
Sorry?
Will you be here at church tomorrow?
That is the current plan, yes.
Great.
Good.
So those of you who would like to hear readings.
Yes,
tomorrow,
because I'll be
it'll
speaking,
be-
so I'm not going to work the platform for
it'll be-
messages.
So if you can come tomorrow, I suggest, because this man's going back to Australia.
Oh.
Thank you for being, thank you for coming and doing this.
My pleasure.
And I know it's spirit, we're gonna take care of it. We like, you let the spirit use you, thank you.
Oh, thank you, folks.
You're a good puppet, thank you for being
And thank you for, being here and putting on this workshop jointly with Veretta
Yes.
to a fundraiser for the church. The church appreciates all that you
Again,
did today.
my
Both of
pleasure.
you.
Yeah.
And thank you, Veretta, for your assistance.
I just held space, honey, you did the work. They did the work,
Accept
you
it,
did the
accept
talking.
it,
I'm
accept it.
good enough.
All
All right, so, there you go.
right, awesome.
Is this all lowercase? Yeah.
Put your chairs back.
Yes.